Hi everyone, it's Diana. If you don't know me, I am a solo artist, and what I do is I use the creative arts to talk about mental health. So my background is in performance, but I wanted to bring to you this quick exercise that I learned in the visual arts to help support processing of depression, anxiety, large emotions, and different things that you might feel during this unprecedented time. So all you're going to need to do this with me is a piece of paper, and you're going to want some coloring utensils. I usually use crayons, but you can use paints or markers. You can even just use a pen, whatever works for you, really. So what we're going to do is we're going to just take our blank piece of paper, and we're going to end up drawing our thoughts and emotions as if they're weather. So is it sunny in your inner world? Or maybe there's sun, but there's also tornadoes. There could be tiny rainbows. There could be giant thunderstorms. There could be whatever you want in your weather report. You also do not need to just stick to weather. You can really draw anything under the sun. That's funny. That was a pun by accident. But so yes, you can draw whatever you want, and you can even just draw shapes, anything really. Weather is just a guiding tool to get you started. So the way and the reason why we do this is I find that arts are really expressive, of course, and but when we're dealing with large emotions and dealing with mental health, the arts are a really wonderful tool to help you process what's going on inside. You know, usually there's so much happening in the mind, there's so much happening in the heart, and even throughout the body we can hold bits of tension, bits of large emotions. But when we have arts, it gives us a place to take all that energy. Otherwise, sometimes, you know, we're walking around and we're really mad about something but don't know what it is. And then if you start to draw, or you start to put it into art, it will help your mind to categorize it and process it. And so it might come out a lot differently than if we just hold it inside. So that's what this is doing. You can do this with family members, you can do this with friends, you can do this with children too. It's a great conversation tool to, you know, just help you all have some compassion for different ways that other people might be coping, or different stresses or different things that other people might be feeling. This is also a cat that I show you every day. Okay, so let's draw. If you don't know what you want to draw, that's fine. I often don't either. So a lot of times I will just look at my color palette and I'll see what color speaks to me, and I will start with that, and I'll just put it to the page and see what comes out. There are a couple ways that we can get started. We can do a body scan if you want. You can just scan your body from head to toe and just see if there's any places that are holding tension, if there's any places that feel excited. There might be places that are dense and hard. There might be places that are just pulling your attention too. And you don't have to do it that way. Like right now, my toes at the bottom, they got a little bit of little flutter. So that often when I used to do body scans, like when I was working in mental health in my classes, I would always focus on the places I felt tension, the places that felt bad or felt uncomfortable. But as I've also done this exercise, I'm also to get little bursts of pieces of the body that feel joyful, or might have expectation, or might have inspiration in there too. So sometimes if the body is something you don't want to scan, sometimes it'll just be the tips, maybe the tips of the fingers or the tips of the toes, tips of the eyelashes. And you don't have to fully go into a full body scan if that's something you don't want to do. Or you don't have to do that at all either. You can really just sit here and say, okay, what am I thinking? What is happening in this moment today here with me, Diana? And then let's translate that onto the page in weather. I think that works. So you can take more time if you want. Thank you for joining me. You can take more time if you prefer. You can do this if you drew what came out and you want to add things later to it. Sometimes I'll do that, or sometimes throughout the day I'll just pick up a pen, and if something bubbles up, I'll just quickly do a quick little drawing, even with a pen or whatever's close by. So there's just a lot of ways that you can do this, and you can also really honestly do what works best for you. It really is just like I think in total the exercise usually takes about like 2 to 3, 5 minutes. My videos just take a little bit longer because I explain a lot. So yes, this is what oh, and I will say this too. I thought of this morning. Sometimes there are feelings that are really big, and we don't want to acknowledge they're there, of course. Like sometimes things are just too much to look at, especially right now. We are in really unprecedented times. And so if it doesn't work for you to draw what you're thinking and feeling in this moment, you can also adapt the exercise to draw what you would like to feel in this moment, what you miss about life, what you look forward to. I mean, you really can adapt this to work best for you, because in anything in life, I am finding that the more that we just like acknowledge what makes us feel the best and most comforted in the ways that we try to cope and take care of ourselves is the most important. That said, of course, not if it harms other people, which is why we want to do things like this, so that really the hurt and the pain and the really large feelings can come out in a different way, as opposed to possibly, terse words with our partner, or getting mad about the guy that cut us off, when we used to be able to go out and drive. I clearly deal with things through comedy, so that was my joke. Anyway, this is what I drew. Also, this is a cat. Very fun. Okay, so this is interesting because this shape has, in the past few days, has come up. This almost like it's coming from a single source and it spans out. In the past few days, it has been different colors. At first, it was like a ray of light. At first, it was a protective factor within my drawings. That's another thing is, as I learn about trauma, trauma or just upsetting things, is when we have things that will make us feel protected or make us feel comfortable, we're able to kind of process them and weather the storm in some ways. Some of us have protective factors like best friends that are always there for us. Some of us have great parents. Some of us have parents that are actually not able to show up in the way that we want them to. You can draw your own imaginary protective factors within your picture to take care of some of the harder emotions or some things that might scare you too. So in previous pictures, this single source spouting out with light, that had been a protective factor, something that was bringing me peace and joy and inspiration. Today, it is not. Today, it has changed, and it's kind of more of a very aggressive. It's aggressive and it's across the page, and it's almost like an ice storm when I look at it. It's just a lot. There is just so much. And as I was continuing the drawing, I did add some light charcoal to it. And I didn't think that it was appropriate for it to be like dark black, like a dark color, maybe reds, maybe browns, things like that. So I wanted it more of a charcoal, a lighter, almost like, I can only think of it like when a cave falls in and there's all that dust, there's all that charcoal. So that's kind of what this is. But within that, I did also draw some yellow to symbolize light. However, the light, because there are a lot of beautiful things that are happening right now too. However, in this circumstance, there is light amidst all of that ice storm. And in some ways, it's aggressive. In some ways, it's comforting. In some ways, it's just trying to fight its way in and through the ice storm. So that is the ice storm. Underneath it, when I drew this, I did feel some sadness pop up, some real heavy emotion, heavy sadness. But so that's why I drew clouds. I didn't really know how to, what shape to articulate that in, so I just went straight to weather. I was like, okay, that's the exercise. It's not time to reinvent the wheel. So I did clouds. I did draw the clouds as a blue cloud though. And instead of a heavy like navy cloud, I drew it as blue because it wasn't so much, there is sadness within these clouds, but it's more the heaviness of the tears. It's like the heaviness. And what I did too to indicate the heaviness was I used silver to draw the silver lining that there's a silver lining to every cloud, but I do that on top of the cloud to be weighing it down. Things right now are topsy-turvy, they're upside down, and sometimes they don't look the way that we thought they'd look. So that is just my way of giving voice to the clouds being weighed down. I did draw the sun. The sun though, in the last few days, my suns have, yes, been factors of joy, but they are also just stabilizing factors often, I'm finding in my last few pictures. So this really speaks to me about stability, and there's one that's coming out of the ice cloud, and there's one that is meeting it. Within that, I felt, when I first sat down with you, I talked about that tiny little tingle in my toe, and I drew that in pink every which way. And those are almost like whiffs of wind, but soft, gentle breeze. Yes. So that's what I drew for today. I hope that you drew along with me or came up with something that serves you. Please join me every day if you'd like to draw. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me. And this will be up on my stories for 24 hours. And I'm also adding it to YouTube. So you can catch up on past days, draw along with me, draw along with loved ones, whatever works best for you. But during this time period, just take a couple minutes to take care of your mental health, because there's a lot happening, right? And if you take a narrative of what we drew every single day, you'll also have kind of your story during this time period, because I know everyone is, although we're going through a collective situation, we all have various compounding factors and various things that we're all dealing with. So I wish you a good day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much. That's that cat.